All right, guys, we're going to start our notes. This is going to be the first section out of chapter 5, which is going to deal with roots, rational exponents. We're going to do lots of things with those. So nth roots means just any root, and then rational really just means fraction. Okay, so let's see how this first thing's going to look like. This is on page 124, and this is just kind of a snapshot into what we're going to be doing. We're going to be able to take something like this and rewrite it out, like all of these actually, and rewrite it so that we can solve. Now, this one wouldn't give you whole numbers to solve. Now, if you had something like this set, notice how it says solve it without a calculator, and that's because you can solve these without a calculator, believe it or not. I'm just going to do, well, I'll do like this one down here. So before this video is over, you will be able to know that you're going to write this as the square root of 49 raised to the third power, and then you can solve that because the square root of 49 is just 7, and then 7 to the third is 343. So you can do it without a calculator. All right, so that's kind of where we're going. Let's get a little bit of notes here first. This is on the next page. The nth root of a, which would be written like this, nth root of a. This down here where it says the index of the radical, this n is actually my index. A, and I don't know why they don't have it here, but it's called a radicand. Okay, so when I talk to you about what goes where, that will kind of help you with that. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things. The first couple questions you're going to be asked will say, find the, and it'll give you an n number and it'll give you a root. So these things in this chart, I'm just going to run through them. This is not anything you have to memorize. It's really just common sense. So let's talk about this here with an even integer as your index. That would be something like the square root or the fourth root or even the sixth root. Okay, any of those. You want to think about what happens when you solve that. So in this case, it says that if a is less than 0, that means I would have a negative number. So here's a perfect example of that. The square root of -9. Well, we already know from previous lessons that that's going to be 3i. Well, that would be in the imaginary number system, and we're talking about the real number system. That's why this says you have no real roots. So we would just say no solution or no roots. All right, and this one makes sense as well. If I had even the fourth root of 0 is obviously just 0. So again, common sense. Let's see, and this one says if I have a positive a, so that would be something like, let's do the square root of 16. It is true that positive 4 squared is 16, but also -4 squared is 16 as well. Okay, so that's one you got to look out for and remember to use the positive and the negative. Alrighty, and then the when it's odd, so that would be something like the cube root, the fifth root, anything like that, seventh root. If you have that situation and a is negative, like the cube root of -27, that is actually going to be -3 because -3 times -3 times -3, which is a cube root, would be -27. So you actually do have one real solution and it is negative. So if you notice here, all of these are one real solution. So anytime you have the odd index, you can always think, oh, okay, I know I'm going to have one real solution. You just have to be able to find it. All right, and then obviously the cube root of 0 is 0. And then the last one would be something like the cube root of positive 27. And that would obviously be positive 3. So just a little, really the positive negative on the even is really the biggest thing and the reason why we're doing that. So let's run down to the extra practice. Let's do these first, and then we'll go back and get the rest of the notes. All right, so let's see, we have, for the first one, I want you to rewrite it correctly. So this would be the cube root of -125. We notice that my 3 is odd, obviously, and the cube root of 125 is 5. Might take you a minute to find that. And we're going to make it negative because it's true that -5 times -5 times -5 is the only way I can get -125. Right, the next one for 2, this would be the square root of negative 400. Remember that even though my n is 2, with the square root, we don't have to put a 2. It's only if we have an index that's higher than 2 that we have to write it. Now, this one, for according to what we just learned, we can't find the square root of a negative number in the real number system. So this would be no real solution. And then for number 3, this would be the 6th root of 64. So we're just going to look, got to be a small number. We want to think, I'm going to start with 2 and just try it. Is 2 to the 6th going to give me 64? So it's going to be, and actually it does. And because that 6 is even and we're looking for a positive number, we're going to consider the fact that positive 2, but also negative 2 to the 6th would give me a positive 64. Okay, so that's, you only have to worry about that chart when you're working something that's written this way, nth roots of A. And again, mostly common sense. All right, let's go back and look at rational exponents. This is what we did in the very beginning. And so what I want you to do is just take out this middle part right here. I think that that is confusing. And the way I show this, so we're going to go from a fractional exponent. We really just take the denominator and it comes around as the index. The base is going to stay the same, the base of A, and then I'm going to raise it to this to the numerator of the fraction. Okay, so for instance, if I had, let's say 9 to the 3 halves, the 2 is going to come around as the index. Base of 9 stays the same, and I'm going to raise it to the 3rd power. That's how I was able to solve that original question. Then I can solve that easy. The square of 9 is 3, and then 3 to the 3rd is 27. All right, now, actually, this one down here is actually the same thing. It's just saying take care of the negative first. We can't have a negative exponent. The negative exponent has to go to the bottom, which should be a reminder to you from your whenever you learned about exponents. Again, I don't like this one here. I'd rather you go from this to here. Okay, so again, for instance, let's just use the same example, 9 to the negative 3 over 2. I'm going to start with 1 over 9 to the 3 over 2 because that's, I can't really solve a negative exponent. That's not possible. And then this would become 1 over the square root of 9 cubed, which would in fact be 1 over 27. All right. So let's look at a couple examples. Let's do a few of these. We'll do the top row and you can do the bottom row. Okay, so for 4, we're going to rewrite this as the square root of 64. And that's just going to be 8. Now, I don't, in this case, we're not considering positive and negative. If they wanted the negative version of this, they would put a negative in front. Oh, well, no, not true. Anyway, they're only assuming the positive answers here. Okay, so the only time you have to worry about it is when it's asking for the nth root of A, like in the top. All right, so in 5, this will be the cube root of negative 27. So I'm looking for a number that when I multiply it 3 times, I get negative 27. That can only be negative 3. All right, number 6 is going to be the 5th root of 32 raised to the 7th power. So I'm going to start by solving the 5th root of 32, which I believe is 2. So I have 2 to the 7th now, which you can probably hear my calculator in the background, is 128. And if you need help doing this in the calculator that you have, please ask. I'll be happy to help you with it. All right, number 7, I see the negative exponent. So my first step is going to be to put this down to the denominator, which becomes 1 over the square root of 49 cubed. That would be 1 over 7 cubed, and 7 cubed is 343. So it'd be 1 over 343 is my final answer. What I'd like for you to do now is pause the video, obviously go back and watch anything you feel like you need to do. And I want you to work 8 through 11 here, but then I also want you to go over and do the matching 12 through 15. Okay, so when you've done that and you're ready to unpause the video, and do that so you can check your answers. Don't go any farther than that though. So it's 8 through 15. And you can pause now. Okay, hopefully you got some answers on your paper here. What I'm going to do is flip over to the the answers to show you so that you can check what you have on your paper and check your 8, 9, 10, and 11. Let me know if you have any questions. And then 12 through 15 should be C, D, B, A. All right, good luck with the rest of the section. And there will be a part 2, which will teach you how to do these last ones, which is solving equations.